Many of you perhaps know that Jay and I have directed a Canadian non-governmental organization called Canadian Aid for South Sudan. We actually first went to Sudan in 1998. It's been a fascinating trip, not only between countries, but also just in discovering humanity. A number of you, though, have asked recently, are we still involved there? Because of the difficulties that have happened, we know that there's military battles going on in South Sudan. The same thing is happening in North Sudan. Both of them are being regarded as failed states. In South Sudan is being called the world's worst humanitarian disaster at the moment, with millions at risk from flooding and also from famine and also from violence. Many non-governmental organizations have pulled out. Many governments have withdrawn their support because of the difficulties that have happened with the leadership in South Sudan. It's an internal rebellion that's going on. It's been difficult. I thought it might be good to update you to just let you know that we are still there. We started our own organization, as I said, and we've now been there for 27 years. It's been a long struggle. We first went there back in 1998, went back again in 1999 with the London Free Press, CBC Television, went back a couple months later with Maclean's magazine. It became a cover story at that particular time of all that had gone on there. It's a remarkable story of all that took place. You'll know that we've adopted 3 kids from South Sudan, Ater and his twin sisters, Achen and Abuk. So we've had them here for over 20 years. I mean, it's a lot that has happened in that time. But a lot of Londoners and people across the country, London business leaders and others, had all gotten involved with us during that time to help to raise funds for programs in South Sudan. You'll know that we went there initially to fight slavery, and there was a lot of that had been going on. The United Nations had sent rapporteurs or investigators into that region way back in the 1990s, only to discover that slavery, the kind of chattel slavery that you would see in different television programs from the American Civil War, that kind of thing, that was going on in South Sudan. We had an opportunity to go and try to fight that, which we did for a number of years. But then we became more of a development organization that was primarily structuring ourselves around schools and about women's programs. And it was quite something. I mean, we worked a lot with the Canadian government, also with the American government. We worked with the Carter Center, Jimmy Carter Center back then in 2005, when it was about South Sudan was getting the opportunity to vote in a referendum about whether they would go independent of North Sudan. At that point, they were just one country, but the South wanted to be independent. There was a lot of differences there, and that war had been going on for almost 6 decades. Over 3 million people had been killed. I mean, it was a lot. There was a lot of things happening. So we went over for that referendum, and some Londoners came over to help us with it, and the London Police Services gave us all sorts of fingerprinting things and skills that we could use as we were going over there and monitoring these different groups that were coming in and voting. The result of that vote was that over 97% of the people that voted said that they wanted to be independent. So, not too much later, South Sudan became the world's newest nation, got accepted into all sorts of different fora that it could be part of. But it was difficult from the very beginning. You took a number of fighting factions and somehow cobbled a government out of that. It was always going to be difficult. In the area where we worked, however, was right up in that border region, and oil was pumping from close to that region, so on and so forth, but we were concentrating on development work. We did that, and it was great. I mean, we were able to raise millions of dollars over that time to be able to donate to South Sudan for the building of schools, for 5 different women's centers in that area. CETA helped us with that, the Canadian government as well. And so we had this chance to do a lot of really important things during that time, but it was clear over that time that things were getting worse. elections were supposed to happen then and then did not. A lot of the women who had run for leadership positions and even won in certain elections to get it just didn't carry enough influence. We were upset by all of that. We felt that there was just so much that could be done there if the Southern leaders would just open themselves up to it. But as the years have gone on, it's been really difficult. You know about it because you've read about it in the news. However, we really have felt that it's important for us, for at least in these next few years, to be able to keep helping the people of South Sudan, especially when it comes to issues of girls' scholarships or scholarships even for some of the boys to go to high school or to go to university. So that's what we have done. We have concentrated on that. And we've had to let a number of the other programs go because of the fighting or because of the corruption or other things. But on this one, we're working with the schools, and they will take many of these students, mostly women and girl students, from the southern region where we come from, and they send them to these different schools, sometimes in Uganda, sometimes in the southern part of Sudan. But the point is to give them an education and to give them a chance to come back and be leaders in those areas. So that's what we've done. We had a board meeting a couple of nights ago in which we were discussing, is there much point in continuing to go on? Because of just the way that it's going. It's in decline and people are expecting a rebellion at any moment and more armed conflict. We felt that we should. We normally go over every year for a few weeks to do stuff. We decided not to do that this year because of the complexities of all that, even if we could get in to the region and be able to do what we want to. They've known us for a long time. The president of South Sudan is someone who was charged with protecting us on the very first trip that we pulled together that team on that I was telling you about with a lot of Free Press and with CBC. So we've decided to keep going. Now, people have kept donating to CASS, C-A-S-S, Canadian Aid for Southern Sudan. And I mean, we appreciate that, but all that money is going in towards scholarships, just so you know. We find that's the best way to control the money so people can't get at it, because the money will end up going in towards education or to the schools to help those people. And those schools will give us reports back, as will the students, about how their education is going. So that's what we will do. I wanted to do this video because Jane and I have wrestled with it as to what to do for the future. But since people are continuing to donate, we don't want to let these kind of problems be the kind of thing that limits foreign aid. We feel that, especially with the women's programs, that we've got a responsibility to keep doing it the best we can. We will try to go when we can. We've got some wonderful Londoners that are on our board, and people like Carol Campbell, who's been a big part of Canadian Aid for Southern Sudan, who was with us on that first trip, who want to be part of that going and trying to keep it going the best we can. We don't know how much longer that we can do that, but people continue to donate and scholarships continue to go out. That's what we'll do. I think within us, we want people, look, I've been in war situations before in other parts of the world. So has Jane. You know about those things and what we have done. These kind of things, what makes it difficult is more that we are responsible for other people. So in the past, we've always taken teams with us to South Sudan with some tremendous different individuals, many from London here, who came over and helped us set up programs and do various things. We can't do that now. It's just too dangerous. Many NGOs are pulling out because of that danger. But because we can still operate these programs from a distance, that is what we will continue to do. I thank you for those who have maintained their belief in it. You know, every week we'll still get letters in the mail, or we'll see that people have donated to the work of South Sudan. They read those reports and they go, oh, how can we be there and how can we help? And it's very much like the food bank. With the food bank, people will read something like about 1 out of every 3 kids is food insecure in London. Some will be kind of turned off by that and turned away, but others just come straight out, come forward, and they volunteer or they give funds or whatever it is. That's what we will continue to do. We're a registered charity here in Canada. We're audited. We have to give all of these different accounts of the money that we have. But the point is It needs to end up at the other side of the world with these people who have watched their whole lives fall apart. In 2005, they thought that after 60 years of war, that they had finally entered a time of peace. That did not happen. And often because leaders struggled with one another, but average people on the ground were not part of any of that and are looking for ways to better their lives, so we want to be there. This video is just a way of explaining that we don't put out as much about it because there's so much going on with the food bank at the moment. But it's important for you to know that we are still there and things are still operating. Students are still going and getting scholarships. Many of the young women are graduating from university or from high school and moving forward. And we feel that that will continue on. Education is the number one thing that the Sudanese always told us that they wanted. And education is the number one thing that we're working on right now. 27 years, it's been over a quarter of a century. We have seen so many developments there that are just unbelievable, full of exhilaration and a sense of possible peace, to the absolute depravity of what we have seen there in the fighting and other things. We don't tend to make a big deal of it, but we want you to know that we're still there and we'll keep going on. We thank you for all the questions. You can go to different places. Now there's all sorts of things like ChatGPT and others that you can go to and ask about what's going on in South Sudan. But also there are many NGOs, also the UN website about that. But we wanted you to know that as Canadians, we don't just give up that easily. But that it is far more difficult. And for those of you who've had our back and stayed with us, the people in South Sudan appreciate that. When many of them think of Canada, they often think of London. They don't know what Canada is like, but they know of London because so many Londoners have been there in all of these various trips over a quarter of a century. Schools are still operating. The Canada School that we built and constructed, that is still running. The women's centers are still running. It's just they're on bare budget now. It's not been easy because of the conflict and because of the economic situation. Thank you for being those kind of Canadians that make a difference. It doesn't require us to have to be there to make that difference. It did require us to be there in those early years so that they could develop trust with us and work with us so we could do what we needed to do. But now we can do it from here, and that's just what we'll continue to do. Students in South Sudan know that Canada cares and has been that generous, and we just want to thank all of you who have been those supporters, just the people who have even asked. It's been pretty awesome what we've seen. It's tragic now. We're often in tears about it because somebody else that we know over there has now, passed away. Our two key people who ran our programs have both passed away in recent years out of health and sickness, and they were not able to get any help. There were no hospitals. So it's broken our hearts. It's been difficult. On the other hand, the vitality of the human spirit in South Sudan to still want to be educated, so to make a difference is there. And that inspires us. I hope that inspires you as well. Thanks again for all that support.